I'm Amy Donner. I was married to Kamake.
And who were your parents?
My parents was Emily Nuiva. My father was Jesse Roy Donner.
And Auntie?
I'm Lily Wai. My mother, Mary Ann, was a Kamake Aina. She was the only sister of the 5 boys, Uncle Alali, Aina, Alali, Kioni, Puni, and who am I missing?
Pua.
Pua. Those are her 5 brothers that she loved very dearly.
And your father?
And my father was George Padeken. He was from Ka'ava of Oahu.
Uncle?
I'm from Johnny Pahumoa, Kamake Aina Jr. Son, Herbert Kamake Aina. My mom was Hattie Kamake Aina. And my grandfather was John Pahumoa from the Himalaya. And we were all raised with the same family.
Uncle? How are you related to the Kamake Ainas, Uncle?
From my Uncle Pua, Kamake Aina, I had the name for me, James Pua. But James Pua Bryant, but my mother, Kahele, my mother, and my grandfather.
Your granddaddy, Samuel Kahele.
Yeah, Sam Kahele, and Elizabeth grandma.
So we wanted to talk about the Kamake Ainas and what Kamake Aina means to you. You know, your experiences with the family and your memories about the tutus, the tutu Pahumoa, tutu Pu'ukaulana. I know that Auntie Lily knew her for a little bit. Tutu Ku'ua. So that way the younger generations get an understanding of not just the information that we all know, the birth dates, the names, but maybe an insight of what they were like as people. You know, so I didn't personally know Tutu Pahumoa, didn't know a lot of the tutus. So for me, I only know the information I'm told, but maybe help other people understand, you know, did they have a mean streak? Were they happy all the time? You know, what happened if you got in trouble? Do you have any stories that you wanted to share? I know Auntie Lily, you knew Pu'ukaulana, and there's no one left in the ohana that can claim at all to have known her because everyone else is gone. So did you want to share any information about Tutu Pu'ukaulana with the rest of the ohana?
I remember her. She died in the early 20s, and so I was very young then. But I do remember her because every time I'd see her, she was always mixing poi, and I would say, Tutu, why do you always mix poi? She said, it's because that's what we love to eat. And when she mixed her poi was really very ono. And I said, your poi is so ono. Why is it? She says, when you mix the poi, you don't put a lot of water in it all at one time. You put a little bit water in. Then you mix it. And when you're doing that, you're putting a lot of your strength into that poi.
The mana?
Yes, and she says, and that goes into the bodies of those that eat it. And it helps them. And later on, when I was working, on my bodies, I found the importance of the mixing of poi. And she was a very, very sweet woman, and it was so sad when she passed away. But as I said, I was very young.
Now, didn't she have a daughter that she named Pu'ukaulana after her, Pu'ukaulana Kamake Aina?
Well, when she had a daughter, that's when the daughter died, and then she passed away also.
And then she passed away after the birth. So those two, and you had told me before that there were 3 daughters, 3 youngsters or 3 girls.
No. It was was, see, that was Tutu Maliana,
Yes.
Tutu Peahi, and I don't know, I can't remember who the third one was.
But there were 3 daughters you had said on the Kamake Aina side, 3 young babies that had passed away, right? One right after
Then,
the
of course,
other.
there were 5 boys.
Yep.
With Uncle Aina being the oldest.
And now because of the Tutu Meliana lost her daughter,
Yes,
and then she
lost
came
her
about
oldest daughter.
Hanaiing your mother.
And so did Tutu Peahi lost her daughter.
She lost
also.
Maui. Maui was her name, I believe, your cousin or
That's right.
your auntie.
Mhm.
And you said that's how Tutu Meliana came about Hanaiing your
And
mother.
My mother, right. Well, my mother was brought over to the family after she was born because her father did not want her because she was from one of the Japanese families that came from Japan. And he did not want
Hashimoto.
any daughters. In fact, for the Japanese people that had come to labor in the sugarcane industry, when the wives had girls, they had to give them away because their husbands didn't want girls. They wanted only boys.
So a lot of Japanese girls were Hanai
Given
to other
away,
ohana.
yep, they were Hanai.
And your mother's
My
last
mother,
name was
fortunately,
Hashimoto.
was adopted by the Kamake Ainas.
It was a fortunate thing.
Very fortunate.
And now you, I remember when you and I talked, I had found that certificate testimony for the certificate of Hawaiian birth, and it showed your grandparents' names on there. I believe it was Ijiri was your grandfather's name, your mother's real father's name. I can't remember off the top of my head your grandmother's name, but I know the last name was Hashimoto. That's what you
Yes,
grew up knowing, right? And then your mom went on to meet your father, George Padeken.
Right.
And then
But she never took Hashimoto at all.
no, she took Kamake or Diaz.
Oh, well, no, she took
Diaz.
years
Diaz.
because she was brought up by Tutu Maliana. And Tutu Maliana's last name was Diaz. She was married.
Now here's a question of clarification. A lot of people know of Tutu Meliana's husband, but on the birth and death certificates for Tutu Meliana, or Tutu Marianne, your mother, that were issued after her testimony and then after her
Yeah.
passing,
Well-
shows Pahumoa as her father and Tutu Meliana as her mother.
Well, I tell you what happened there is that my mother found out that although Tutu Maliana really reared her, but she did not adopt her.
Mm.
So it was after she found this out after Tutu Maliana passed away. So then she asked Tutu Pahumoa whether he would adopt her because she had to fill out papers, adoption papers. So he adopted her. And so that was in the 50s when that was done.
And that was when Tutu Pahumoa was with Tutu Ku'ua,
Yes.
Susie.
Yes. He was still alive then,
Yeah.
fortunately.
And now
Almost passed away 48, huh?
44,
44
44,
to almost.
Tutu Pahumoa.
Yeah.
1879 to
So that'll be
1944.
before, yeah, before. Yeah, to almost.
Oh.
I
Yeah,
think-
well, anyway,
Yeah.
that's when it was done.
Right.
So it was
It was before he passed away.
now Tutu Ku'ua was with Tutu Pahumoa. When did Tutu Pahumoa and Tutu Ku'ua marry?
Uh-huh.
There.
Oh, the boys were still young, I remember.
Kekua, Hosea,
Yeah.
there's a two king with Tutu Pahumoa and Tutu Ku'ua.
Those were the
That's the two only child from Kamake outside.
which was the two were
Hosea and Joseph.
was it their Carmelita though? Carmelita, Kamake Aina.
Carmelita was also
The only
Tutu's
daughter.
Yeah.
daughter.
There were
Daughter,
3.
Yeah.
Because her ohana lives on the Big Island now.
Right.
Yeah.
Tutu Ku'ua had her children with her first husband.
So
And
now-
what was Tutu Pahumoa like? Was he a strict man? Was he a kind man?